Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday, August 4, Sioux Falls City Council meeting. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tom, we'll go ahead and get started by reading our roll call, please.
Council members Brecky.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzert.
Here.
Selberg. Here. Sale.
Here.
Starr.
Here. All right, we're proud to have Jeannie Omlin back with us from the Direct Line Prayer Center. She's offered our invocation before, so Jeannie, thanks for being here. I'd ask that you rise for that, please, and then stay standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we praise you and we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to come together and to meet, Lord God, with you here in this place. And your word in Colossians says, "Put on then as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And above all these things, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body. And be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, with thankfulness in your hearts to God. And whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus." So we thank you, Heavenly Father. I thank you for our mayor, for our council members, Lord, who you have positioned to lead this city. Father, I ask that these virtues would rule in their hearts, Lord God, as they make decisions for our community, for all involved in our community, Lord. I pray your favor and your blessing upon this city, Heavenly Father, as we rejoice, O Lord, in the great things that you are doing in our community. And Father, as we go forth tonight, I just ask your blessing on each person watching, each person in this room, O Lord. Father, you see them, you know every part of them and the needs and the wants in their hearts, O Lord. So I ask, Heavenly Father, that tonight, as decisions are made on behalf of everyone in this community, that they would be right and just and in your perfect favor. We praise you and we thank you, Heavenly Father, for all that you do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nice job.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could have a point of personal privilege.
You sure may.
Thank you. If you could come with me, I would appreciate it.
I sure will.
So you may not have known about this, so I want to share a little something with you about these amazing women walking up right now. You may know Erica. She has been here before and has done some prayers for us. Her friend Erica, her daughter Sophie, Erica number one's daughter Molly, and Councilor Neitzert's wife Jen, and her daughter as well, Olivia. So we're all wearing these kind of matching shirts here, and I'm going to turn the mic over, but one of the things I want to say is Jen Neitzert created these shirts, and Erica kind of came up with this idea of this hot mess mom. Through COVID, it's been a really challenging time, and Erica really created this Facebook group that went from about 30-ish moms, and what is it at now, over 1,000? over 2,000 members, and it's reached outside of the city limits of Sioux Falls and really outside the borders of South Dakota. And through this, it's been amazing and incredible to just really have a community where you can bounce things around. We're homeschooling, we're frustrated, we're lonely, and mental health is a real deal. And so for all of these new friendships and things that we've been able to accomplish and bring together, I thank you so much, Erica, for doing this. Jen created the shirt, and Erica's going to tell you about the shirt, and then she has something for you.
Well, thanks again. I promise I won't bore you with another joke this time. But one thing that COVID really has taught, I think, not only me, but all of us, was the importance of home. And home kind of took on a whole new meaning when we were there for 16 plus weeks, teaching our kids and working alongside our spouses that were working from home, and just really embracing the challenges day by day. So it kind of got me thinking about all the people that weren't so fortunate to be secure in their home, or worrying about where they're going to sleep or how they're going to pay their bills. And we became such a tight-knit virtual community, and we were loving up on each other and being there for people in their times of need, and we decided to reach out to our city as well. So after Jen designed these shirts, we had a local business that offered to print them at no charge. So we had thousands of people order these shirts off of our group. Kello picked up the story a few months ago, but today we are excited to present a check to One Sioux Falls for almost $2,000. All because moms like to show off that we're a hot mess and have a new shirt to wear. So, yeah, so thank you guys all for all you're doing for all of us at home, raising our kids in this beautiful city. So thank you. So if you see anyone around town wearing these shirts, make sure to say hello to them.
And even the kids have Mom's Hot Mess. So you'll see the kids' shirts are Mom's Hot Mess. So, let's be honest, we've all been a little bit of a hot mess over the last several weeks. And so we, are, months, not going to lie, a month. So thank you again for all of your guys' vision in putting this together and really organizing this. And thanks to Jess and Mike Gorsett for printing them for no cost so we could be able to pay it forward and hope to be able to keep some people in their homes.
Awesome. That's awesome. Let's get a picture, girls. All right. Oh, we'll get in trouble if we're too close.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's so cool. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you.
Oh, that's super great. Thank you, ladies, for that gift to the fund. That will certainly be put to good use. That fund is still getting requests, inquiries, distribution still happening from the One Sioux Falls Fund to ensure people are staying in their homes right now. The economic impact of COVID is still being felt for people who are still without work and are struggling with rent payments, and so that's really cool. So thank you for that. We'll move on to item number 4, which is our consent agenda, and look for any changes or a motion to that. Councilor Starr.
I do have 2 items that I'd like to pull from the consent agenda from the memorandum from July 31st, 2020. It's item number 1 and number 2, which I believe we refer to them as sub-items 1 and 2.
Got it. Sub-items 1 and 2 will be pulled for discussion. Any other items to be pulled, Council?
I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second, Brecky.
All right, motion by Starr, seconded by Brecky to approve that then. Any other discussion? All right, we'll take a vote on that, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. We'll move on to our next item, which is our regular agenda, and look for a motion on that.
Move to approve. Second. Sale.
All right, motion approved by Selberg, seconded by Councilor Sale on that. Any discussion on that motion, Council? All right, we'll take a vote on that, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Selberg. Yes. Sale.
Yes.
Star.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next up is public input. As a reminder, input during this portion will last no more than 3 minutes per person, and in total last no more than 30 minutes. During general public input, the public is welcome to speak on any topic that does not appear later on the agenda. For regular agenda items following general public input, comments are limited to 3 minutes unless the item is being presented for final adoption, in which case public input is limited to 5 minutes. For all regular agenda items, comments are limited to the agenda item under consideration only. So at this time, I'd like to invite any members of the public forward for public input. Clerk, please note our time is 7:10. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm Delta David Geyer, the conductor of the South Dakota Symphony. I'm here in support of the municipal band to respectfully ask you to reconsider cutting them from the budget. I came here about 15 years ago, and the reason I came is because Sioux Falls is an art city. Of course, I came because it's an art city, because that's what I do. But the arts don't exist in isolation. There's an ecosystem that's here, and I heard this across the community from doctors, from lawyers, from real estate agents who are trying to get people to move to town. And the quality of life in Sioux Falls being so high because we live together in community, and the arts are community builders. And there are some arts that stand apart as community builders, like the municipal band, where people actually have contact with one another and freely move with each other. I don't know if you've been to a municipal band concert. I've been to many, actually, and the audience is striking because it's the entire swath of the community. It's the elderly. It's young families with children. When you hear the municipal band play, an armed services medley for those veterans, I mean, the source of pride is palpable. And to see the kids running up to the stage and asking questions of the musicians and learning the instruments for the first time, this is extremely valuable. But one of the things that really impressed me when I first came was that of course, that it's free and that it was supported by the city for 100 years. So this is the point I wish to make, is that there are old things and there are new things, and that the new grows out of the old, particularly with the arts. You have an ecosystem here in Sioux Falls that was built by the founders of this city over 100 years ago, that decided that the arts was really important. And so Sioux Falls became an art city. More than a lot of things, Sioux Falls is an arts city. And I personally experience that on a daily basis with the support that we have. So I would, again, respectfully ask you to reconsider this, the kind of access that this community has through the municipal band, because it plays all over the city, from Terrace Park to retirement communities, and it's free. And I thank you for keeping it alive for 100 years, and I ask you, respectfully, again, ask you to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Good evening.
Mayor, Council, for the record, George Hahn, lifelong resident of Sioux Falls. I'm probably the oldest person in the room at age 71 today. I have enjoyed the band all my life. I remember going to concerts at any one of the parks with my parents at the ages 2 and 3 and tapping my feet along with the music. I've known continually over all of my education years kids, parents who played in the band, family members who played in the Sioux Falls Municipal Band. It's one of the most famous organizations of its type in the entire country, and it is a superb performing musical ensemble. On top of all that, the numbers of instruments that get into the system because of the band, as far as donations to junior high school, and college orchestras, is phenomenal. Parents, musicians, music stores contribute to the success of this organization. You can have a community without a lot of things, but to lose the municipal band after more than 100 years will be a tragic loss of something good for our community across the board. All ages, all genre, all venues benefit from the band. To lose them, I think, is a great irresponsibility to the general population of our city and the surrounding area. People come here from smaller communities to the band concerts. They then spend money in our restaurants, in our bars. They hang around. They discuss it. They enjoy it a great deal. And I, for one, would not know what to do if on a evening in the summer I couldn't stroll down from South Main Avenue to All Saints where the band shell is erected and they play. I've done that for a good 20 years. We need to maintain parts of the entertainment culture here that are indigenous. And if anything's 100 years old that isn't indigenous, I don't know how to describe it. The loss would be insurmountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Paul and council members. My name is John Mogan. We've lived just north of McKinnon Park for 31 years. Sometimes on a Sunday afternoon, I'll go outside and I'll hear a band coming from McKinnon Park from the band shell. And because I'm a full-time music teacher, musician, it's kind of like smelling bacon. You got to go find out where it is. And so we go there, and there's a reason why that music is so well played. There are 36, as of last year, 36 members with music degrees, 17 members with masters in music, 3 members had a doctorate in music, and the rest of the musicians play just on a tremendous professional level. They only get paid $30 per rehearsal, $30 per performance, but they still love doing what they do, and they have got a wonderful director too. Sioux City, Waterloo, Cedar Falls all have their own bands. And our own Muni band was started due to a citywide election. So I love going to listen to the Sioux marches, and I hope I can do that next year too. We want those musicians to bring home the bacon. Please find money for the Muni. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Regine Brown. I'm a lifelong member of the Sioux Falls community. And I've also been a music teacher, music educator here in Sioux Falls, and now work in life enrichment with Dalrymple Village. And so I've seen it, the municipal band, the value of it from all different aspects. I was raised in a very musical family, so attending the municipal band concert each week at Terrace Park was a given. Lining up our lawn chairs and blankets with our grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins. To get the best view meant we sometimes brought a picnic early. So there was multi-generational things happening with the municipal band. As very small kids, we looked forward to dressing up in costume for the circus concert, where we got to sit in the front, dance to the music as much as we wanted, and join in a parade across the front of the stage. We thought we were rock stars. As a teen, I'm sure I rolled my eyes and begrudgingly went with my parents and grandparents and begged them if I could just run down the hill to Terrace Park, take a swim while they enjoyed the music. One of my favorite memories was watching my mom and dad dance the jitterbug to a Glenn Miller medley. My dad was an especially smooth dancer, and their dancing elicited applause from the people around them. As a grown adult, I've now started to appreciate the band in a different way, from watching the band entertain at area nursing homes and the Veterans Administration, riding on floats in many parades, and I realized the dedication of those band members as they gave up their nights, their weekends, to give the people of Sioux Falls music. Their patriotism and pride of our servicemen and women is greatly appreciated by everyone here. So I ask you to reconsider where you are putting the money for the municipal band. Keep it going strong in Sioux Falls for another 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Regine. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for taking the time to listen to each of us talk about our passion for the Sioux Falls Municipal Band. My name is Julie Ashworth, and I've been in this community since I graduated from Augustana decades ago. My first love affair with municipal band, when I was a young girl, my father played clarinet in the Huron Municipal Band. That was over 60 years ago, that I sat on the lawn with my mom and brothers and watched my dad play. And then later on, he started a municipal band in Woonsocket, South Dakota, where I grew up. He was also the mayor of the city for over 20-some years. And I then decided to play clarinet because I idolized my father and his clarinet playing. And I have just completed 40 years as the choir director of 2 children's choirs at my church because of my passion for music and children especially. My family's love affair with the Muni Band, as it's so fondly called, began when our son Chris was 2 years old. He was diagnosed with autism. This was 36 years ago. Now, we knew that the language of music was going to be what helped our son and us survive the challenges of autism. So, we have attended at least 1, if not 2 to 3 municipal band concerts every summer week, every summer for the last 35 years. The outdoor setting was a haven for us as a family because we could bring our son to the concerts where his autism was minimized. It was truly the first inclusive, authentic place where Chris could be who he was and where we could relax as a family with this child who had autism. As the years progressed, Chris named a spot right down, all the band members can tell you this, about 2 feet from the front of the stage at Terrace Park and also at McKinnon. He grew up in McKinnon Park. And he sits a couple feet from the front of the band in his chair with his bag of popcorn and his Coke. It is his ritual. And he calls out the instruments whenever they play a solo or when they're highlighted in the band. And there isn't a genre that he doesn't love. The Argist published a story years ago with a picture of Chris down front that was titled, Municipal Band's #1 Fan. If Chris were here tonight, he would insist that every single one of you tell you what instrument you play. We always say you have to say hello first and say, my name is Chris, and get their name. We were on a hike today. There were about 5 different people. We met a saxophonist, a violinist, a trombonist, I wrote it down, a pianist, and somebody who would like to play an instrument because he won't accept that you don't play an instrument. Music is such a part of his life. This band provides music therapy for all abilities and all ages, as everyone can attend in this amazing, beautiful setting in our city and our parks. I also feel so strongly that it's one of the only venues in our city that prioritizes our elders, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
The nursing home, they have their own private personal concerts in an intimate
Judy,
setting.
thank you. We got a 3-minute time limit, so appreciate your comments.
One other significant point I just got to make
We
is
got,
about intergenerational
I can't make,
mentorship
Judy,
and how
thank you
important those
so much.
intergenerational ages and mentorships
Appreciate your
are.
comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come forward, please, sir.
I hope you consider saving. It would be an irrevocable travesty to lose this band.
Thank you, Judy. Good evening.
Greetings. I'm David Zalkaitis, and I'm here to talk to you about a proposed new agency that I would like us to put together. But first, if anybody ever has any better ideas than the ones I present, please let me know. So, police respond to all manner of different kinds of problems, and there's a list there. A lot of different issues that they have to deal with. But on the other hand, their training requirement by the state is only mandated at 13 weeks. That just seems quite disparate considering just how much they have to deal with. I don't see how 13 weeks could possibly be enough for the diversity of their different tasks. The emotional environment of police has a lot of work. I mean, there's all kinds of stresses, and there's a lot of pride, and so quite the issue there. Just the emotional environment, very stressful. Now, if you're part of the establishment, you perceive police to be extremely valuable, partially because they defend pro-establishment protests, starting with perhaps the Boston Tea Party. All right, now, if you're a marginalized person, you have a whole different perspective of police. We've got the world's biggest prison system, and bad cops seem to be protected. So there's quite the disparity there. So I'm looking at this, trying to look at the whole situation, and I think what we need to do is revamp pretty much everything. So I want to get more training, more practice, more support, more community involvement, and less stress. So I'm thinking that if we're going to do all of that, we might as well have a new organizational name and a new uniform and new minivans and more advanced degrees to go along with it. Medical emergencies are now treated with police, fire, and then ambulances. Sometimes the ambulances are very late to arrive. So I'm going to try to change that by equipping police cars as basic life support ambulances to go along with their EMT training. And if we can do that, then we can get people to a hospital faster, and we can save lives, especially for those three conditions. Academically, I would like to see training in all those areas. That's why we're dragging not 13 weeks and then making it 2 years or 4 years. We need a new degree somewhere, and those two schools have a start, but I'd like them to be augmented to teach all the different areas that I think are important for police work so that they're equipped for their jobs. And as always, have something to smile about. This little monster is growing in my backyard. It's way over my head. Reach for the sun.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Michael Gibson. I'm here in regards to the issue of children's battery-powered electric play vehicles being allowed to operate on residential sidewalks, such as Barbie cars. Currently, there's no clear definition if these types of vehicles are allowed on the sidewalks. The way the ordinance is written, it does not address these types of toys specifically. The ordinance does allow e-bikes on the sidewalks, however. We recently had a neighbor call and complain about my 5-year-old daughter riding her electric toys on the sidewalks. When the officer arrived at our house to inform me of this, he wasn't even sure of what the ordinance was. All he had to go by was what the ordinance addressed was allowed on the sidewalks, which does not cover these types of toys. It took 3 visits to our house to get some clarification if she could be on the sidewalk or not. He ultimately told me she could not be on the sidewalk, but she could ride them in the street. He also advised me to reach out and talk to someone about getting the issue addressed. I do not believe any parent wants their 3 to 10-year-old child riding these types of toys in the street. I know for a fact I do not, and I also don't think that it is safe in any way, shape, or form. These are toys designed for toddlers and kids. They do not travel at high speeds, nor are they very powerful. These types of toys are anywhere from 6 to 24 volts and go anywhere from 2 to 12 miles per hour. I have been in contact with Sam Treblecock regarding these types of electric toys for kids, and when I first told him about the issue, he wasn't sure exactly if they were allowed or not. After he talked to someone at the city attorney's office, he ultimately decided that the way the ordinance is written, they are not allowed. What he told me in the email was that technically the toy vehicles are not allowed, but police aren't going to proactively look for violations. So basically, as long as no one complains, then it's okay. I think these type of electric toys need to be addressed specifically, and Sam ultimately agreed with me, and he discussed it with his manager and director, and they said they would look at it. They would look at this ordinance in greater detail. I do not think it's right for it to be okay or not okay to ride these vehicles on the sidewalks based on if someone complains or not. I've contacted manufacturers of these vehicles and asked how they classify these vehicles. Example, e-bikes are classified as 1, 2, or 3. The manufacturers responded with they are not required to have a class because they are considered a child's toy. My wife and I have researched other city ordinances, and they consider these types of electric vehicle as child's play vehicles, and they are allowed on sidewalks. The city of Sioux Falls needs to update the ordinance to allow these toys to be ridden on residential sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Good afternoon, City Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Kadir Aware. I am a resident of the City of Sioux Falls since October 1st, 1977. I'm talking about the issue tonight with you guys. I don't think anybody brought to you guys' attention, and I hope you guys help me to do something about it. I was very humble and honored to be part of the Human Relations Commission in the City of Sioux Falls for 20 years. And in fact, I hope I am not wrong. I am the longest serving Human Relations Commission in the City of Sioux Falls. I serve with a lot of wonderful people, respectful people in our community and city official in this capacity. My problem after 6, 7 months, years, reading so many cases, I come to conclusion really Human Relations Commission is not doing what should be done. It's not because they don't want to do what should be done, because how the ordinance been written, how is the city council make those policy and decision 50 years ago, 75 years ago. City of Sioux Falls demographically changing, you all know, and we have a lot of challenge in front of us, every single one of you and us in the street and the public eye. My problem with the Human Relations Commission was, I think I went through 1,000 cases in that 20 years. A lot of people tell me, Kadir, please don't put a number in there, but I do because I've never been politically correct. I tell the truth. I say about 80% of those cases we found out no probable cause, no probable cause, no probable cause, okay? And we, few of us as City Human Relations Commissioner, we noticed 100% in our heart. About 30, 40, 50% of those cases was a probable cause, but because the way City Human Relations is set up, we didn't able to make any decision about it. Two people from city side really decided to do something about it, Jeff Munns and Gary, our city attorney, which he passed away. I lost a good friend. And he tried to put a lot of document together to present it to city council, to mayor, to change some of those ordinary. He said goodbye to us. So, and I can go through my boxes, have 100 cases. I know deep in there was a discrimination was exist in the workplaces, in the housing issue, and gender issue. We didn't able. Sometimes the cases took about 6 months, 8 months, a year to get a response back to us. And I not blame all over the Human Relations Commission or investigator. Some of the ethnic community didn't have complete information to take a note. Even some of them didn't know name of the management or supervisor discriminated against them, make it a little difficult for us to make deal. But again, something should be done. So I'm asking city council, our city attorney and mayor to do something about it, make it better for our community to change some of those issues. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Kadir. Before this person addresses us, we probably have time for 2 more public inputters after her. So if you came here for public input, please get in line behind her for any non-agenda items.
Sarah Bruce at Sioux Falls. So we worried here about diversity, right? And always said Sioux Falls is not ready for diversity and acknowledging and accepting. And a prime example is we had legislators in the House that ran for Teresa's spot and passed a bill that in 2015 or 2016 that discriminated against the transgender youth. Then here comes Governor Dugard and them, because people was not going to go to Denny Sanford. We had artists coming. They were going to pull out entertainment revenue from South Dakota if this was put into place into the schools. So Governor Dugard and all these people that discriminated against the transgender youth in schools decided to let's get on board and let's vote with Dugard to veto this, because we're going to lose revenue with the states, because Caitlyn Jenner, the Kardashians, we had artists coming and saying, you know what, we're going to pull everything out. Okay? So we have an opponent. We have someone on city council that is against LGBTQ. So now we're going 20 years back in time with accepting and acknowledging diversity here. Okay? I don't care what this individual says. The bill was passed. They had time to review the bill and pass it through the House. Then here comes the ACLU wanting to sue the state if Dugard wouldn't have vetoed that. Okay? So when we say we acknowledge and accept diversity, no, we don't. We accept it, but we don't acknowledge it. The voters vote for who they want on city council, correct. But the voters that voted for a city council member just went 20 steps, 20 years back in time on diversity. So I want everybody to know that. I know some of you council members supported this candidate, and it is what it is. But I want y'all to realize that this candidate here passed a discriminatory bill in the House. The only way that they vetoed it is because they had pressure on these people that were coming to Denny Sanford and had threatened the state on revenue. And the ACLU threatened to sue. because it was discriminatory. That's the only reason why they jumped on board to veto it. So when we're talking about buildings and rooftops and putting people in council here, because we got to get through development here and let's grow the city, we're bringing so much rooftops and buildings here, but we're still in the back hole in diversity. We're trying to get 10 steps ahead of us, but we're still trying to grasp diversity here. But let's keep building buildings and rooftops for the rich people here. So that's what I want to say about this issue here.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Tom Ashworth, lifelong resident of Sioux Falls. I'm here to suggest that cutting the annual operating budget for the Sioux Falls Municipal Band is simply wrong. I've shared a blanket with my grandchildren many evenings up there, teaching them to speak softly, share snacks, listen to some outrageous music that, is just kind of an integral part of the North End. I can't imagine what the neighborhood up there on the North End, Terrace Park area will be like on Sunday evenings without the music that the band has provided. A 100-year-old tradition should not be taken lightly. I don't know exactly what a 6-inch snowstorm costs in Sioux Falls to clean up the mess, but I'm pretty sure the Sioux Falls Municipal Band's budget of $130,000 would be a minor line item. And for us to throw that away in Sioux Falls is a tragedy. There aren't many things you can establish for $130,000 a year, and I'd like you to consider just keeping it in place. We would like to see it go forward for many years to come. It's a fine tradition, and I'm proud to say that Sioux Falls has a municipal band. I do not like to think that the band will be underwritten by an individual or used as a branding opportunity for some other interest. This is our band. This is the city's band. Please support sustaining it.
Thank you, Tom. Probably have time for one more, if anyone else is here for general public input. All right, seeing none, we'll move on then to our next item, please, Tom.
The next item, Mayor, is from item 6, sub-item 1, Finance Independent Contractor Agreement to conduct a review of internal financial controls. The vendor is Eide Bailey LLP in the amount of $10,000.
Councilor Starr?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. When I saw this item go across, my immediate reaction was that this is an item that our internal audit committee should handle. We ask for, when we tell departments that they should, a review of internal financial controls, again, is the role of internal audit. I did have a chance to talk with Director Pritchett this afternoon, and the amount of expertise that it has, that the contract would require. But at the same time, then the contract should go through the internal audit division and have a chance to take a look at exactly what's going on. My biggest fear is that we will move this to other departments and move more things away from the expertise that we pay for in the internal audit division. I wanted to at least hear from Director Pritchett, if you don't mind, Mayor, that he has a really great explanation of exactly what this does, and it's a good thing that they're doing. It's an opportunity for $10,000 that will protect the city, and I totally get that, but I'm balancing that with, should it go through the internal audit committee?
Got it. Yep. Sean, you want to come on up? Thank you.
Sean Pritchett, Director of Finance, City of Sioux Falls. Good questions. I think I just highlight a couple of items that the plan was to move forward with this. And this is something that we had talked about for quite some time. And we had engaged with internal audit staff. We'd engaged with the chairman of the internal audit as well in discussions on this. But it has to do with a lot of dealing with fraud. And a lot of fraud has to do with cyber-related issues as well. But what this contract entails is bringing Eide Bailey in. Now, Eide Bailey has, in addition to just being our general auditor for the city, they also have specializations. It's a fairly large firm. One of the things that they do is internal audit controls, but also things related to technology and cybersecurity. And so the plan for this was to bring individuals in to identify internal control deficiencies over purchasing accounts payable, payroll functions, provide recommendations and best practices for weaknesses identified. And these are areas that internal control or internal audit is oftentimes engaged in. Some areas that we also would be is a review of policy and procedures and making sure we're accounting to that. That's another piece of that. Where it gets, where the specialization occurs is in terms of forensic accounting and methodologies revolving around forensic accounting. And the changes that occur with fraud that are changing readily, daily. We're receiving fraud attempts both on payroll side, but also in terms of vendor fraud. And so reviewing from a forensic standpoint as well as a policy standpoint, how we're handling our vendor relationships and dealing with those, but really incorporating into that the technology aspect, and that becomes where the critical expertise becomes important. We engage the city at times, bringing people in to take a look at our network security and doing audits per se of those, and so those aren't necessarily run through internal audit. Those are administrative functions that we bring through to just having good administrative procedures. And so that's the effort that we brought forward to bring this to the table to make sure that while a significant investment, the amount that it would save us over time, and given the layer of complexities that are dealing with this, that's why we were looking to engage them.
Councilor Starr, do you have any questions for Sean?
No, I was going to wait to make another statement after we get a motion or
Okay.
after public input. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item? Good evening.
Good evening, Bruce Danielson. The question I have in bringing a contract like this through the finance department is we have an internal audit department that is supposed to be able to go into any department and look at anything that's going on in city government and look at everything without anybody holding anything back. And they're supposed to be your eyes on all of this. And we're dealing with a change in your South Dakota Public Assurance, I believe it was, contract for insurance, and trying to find a way to get financing, or you financed a digital survival kit, if nothing else, to protect against phishing, from email phishing, to drop viruses on your computers, steal things, the Bitcoin scams that are going on. This, to me, would make more sense being through the city council and the internal audit so that they can go talk to finance, they can work with Eide Bailey and whoever else. But you are the people that set policy, not the guy that's sitting straight in front of me, not these people that are sitting behind me, not any of that. You people are the policy makers, and you should be making the policies for the city government. Now, the mayor and his staff can make recommendations to you, but you actually have to make the policies. That's in the charter. The mayor's office can only make policy for his employees. He can't make policy and the contents of contracts that deal with policy, and you're dealing with policy here. That's the way I look at it, and I see a real problem that if you exclude the internal audit out of this thing, then you're probably setting yourself up to get hurt worse. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else to speak to this item tonight? All right, you want to put a motion on the floor and then we can have that discussion? You want to?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move to approve sub-item number 1.
Second, Neitzer.
All right, motion by Starr, second by Neitzer to approve this item. Discussion on this. Councilor Starr.
Yeah, I'm at the same spot because I totally agree with Director Pritchett of what we need to do. This is a good opportunity for them to review what's going on in the finance department potentially could save us millions of dollars in any one of the categories that he talked about. My only concern is that I think this should be the role of internal audit, and if they can't do it or they need additional help, they should go outside of the department to ask for help. And that request should come from internal audit rather than the department. And I think the request should be there. And if we don't, then we're kind of undercutting what we're trying to do with our internal audit department. Thank you.
You bet. Other discussion on this, Councilor Neitzer?
I do appreciate the concern. I would point out, number one, a fraud control policy was adopted by the City Council years ago, and one of the things that it dictates is that the administration is to have internal controls and do various things to do that. This is much like we have a city attorney's office, but they don't handle every single case. There's some things that are so highly specialized that it makes more sense to hire it out than it does to do it internally. And when you're talking about cybersecurity and forensic audits and forensic auditors, which Eide Bailey has, that's just outside of the wheelhouse of an internal audit division. I should mention the internal audit manager has been part of these meetings all the way through. Been involved. I've been in a few of those meetings when I was the internal audit chair. And I would also say that this is something that is not, I don't think this is a mutually exclusive item. I don't think it's the right way to look at it to think that only the City Council and internal audit should be responsible for internal controls. In fact, the organization is really primarily responsible in any large organization or any organization with establishing internal controls, and it's the internal audit division that helps to make sure that they're in place, make sure that they're functioning, give recommendations. So, in fact, I think rather than being concerned, we should be applauding the finance department for being proactive and working on this. But again, our internal audit manager has been involved, and so I don't consider it undercutting our authority. I consider it a very proactive step and a very important step to take in this time of various threats. So, encourage the support.
Other discussion on this? Councilor Brecky, did you have a comment on this?
Some further questions. I'm just trying to understand the hierarchy, and I think, Councilor Starr raises a good issue. It's really like, who's the supervisor? Who should be overseeing it? It's not whether or not it should be done. I don't think anybody's questioning that it's not a good idea. It's who should be the oversight body over it, whether it should be the administrative side or the policy side. And if it's the policy side, then it's, then it would be internal audit. So my question is, and again, as former chair of the audit committee, explain to me, Councilor Neitzer, why, we can go ahead and approve this contract, but why it shouldn't be supervised by our internal audit committee, even if it's a joint supervision along with the finance staff. I'm trying to understand.
Well, I think potentially something like this could be something that could be led or supervised by internal audit, but this was originally created through the finance department because they're being proactive and they want to make sure they have the right controls in place. And I would also mention that this isn't anything unique. IT does these things every year. They do IT audits, they have scans done, they have those sorts of things done. None of that runs through our internal audit division. So if this is something we decided that we wanted to put in our audit plan, that's fine. But I could see it going both ways. I don't think it's any sort of undercutting of our authority or inappropriate for the city to want to do this sort of thing to make sure they have the controls in place. And if we want to go take a look at it, then we can. So I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
Well, I would guess I would just reiterate, I'm not saying that anybody's undercutting anything. I'm just trying to understand, further understand the role of our internal audit. I've been trying to understand that since I came, because that's something I was unfamiliar with. I served on it for a year. None of this came through us. You said that we talked about it, but we didn't talk about this, so I'm just trying to understand where the lines are. And so you're saying the lines are crisscrossed?
I'm saying that internal controls are the responsibility of the entire organization, not just internal audit. And they're trying to be proactive and make sure that they have internal controls in place, which is exactly what every single department should be doing. And we have internal audit to independently verify if we feel that we need to have something verified because of things like Phillips to the Falls, which is why it was originally created.
Well, thank you, and I wasn't trying to cross-examine you or anything, but you're the one that has the most knowledge. Sure, and
yeah.
Doug did a deep dive into the audit committee, so
yeah.
You're the one I was looking most for.
I think it would behoove,
some answers to those questions.
Reading the fraud control policy, and I don't have it in front of me, would be, and that was years ago it was adopted, might give some more information as to kind of what we look at in terms of fraud control, so.
Well, I would just, I guess as by way of discussion, then I would just say to the mayor and to Sean, I would hope that maybe it would be a joint effort in which our internal audit manager, who has a lot of expertise, is certainly developing expertise as she goes, and could learn from your experience as well, that it should, that she could be involved, and sit through some of those things. She might have good suggestions, and she could learn as well for the role that audit does play when it does come in and then review those things. So I would just, offer that as a suggestion as we go ahead and adopt this.
Sure. Other discussion, councilors, on this item? Councilor Kiley?
I would just like to state that my understanding is that our internal audit manager has been involved in assisting the administration, the finance department, in this case, with their plans, and has been engaging in what type of audit from an administrative standpoint should be conducted. And I guess I would ask Director Pritchett to add any more to that if he could.
That's correct. She'd been involved in general in our discussions and concerns just around fraud, cybersecurity, things of that nature, as it become increasing issues just in general for all municipalities and the things that are revolving around that. I don't see any issues with engaging her. She's been engaged so far as part of this, and I see no issues with having the internal audit manager incorporated as part of this agreement as well. We have a good working relationship, and I don't see any issues with that.
All right.
Thank
you, Councilor Kiley.
That I think it's good that this has been identified as a need, regardless of where the idea came from. I guess I would be disappointed if our finance director wasn't proposing such an inquiry and audit into this situation. So it's good that it's moving forward.
All right, thank you, Councilor. Any other discussion, council, on this one? All right, we've got a motion and a second. Then we will call for a vote on it, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson, Jensen,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Neitzer,
Yes.
Selberg, Sale,
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. And second item, Tom?
Second item, Mayor. Second sub-item, Parks and Recreation, Midco Aquatic Center Pool Filter Upgrade Agreement for Final Design and Construction Administration. The vendor is TSP Incorporated in the amount of $51,400.
Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Director Kearney more than anything. He was very proactive on this contract, explaining it to us as a council, exactly what's going on with the filtration system. And I pulled this tonight because I think the public will be interested as well. So if you don't mind, Director Kearney, could you just summarize your email that you did send to the council last week, explaining exactly what was going on with the Midco and the pool part of it?
Sure. Thank you, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this and give you a little summary of what we have before us tonight and the reason for the contract on the agenda. The contract is to hire TSP, who is the original architect on the Midco Aquatic Center, to design a replacement filter system that we currently have in place at the Midco Aquatic Center. In 2017, the supplier of the filters for the Midco Aquatic Center declared bankruptcy, and as a result of that, there was another company that ultimately acquired the inventory filter parts that we need to be able to operate the filters at the Midco Aquatics Center. And so as a result of that, we learned late last fall that the company that purchased that inventory of filter parts that we need for the filters at the Midco was no longer going to be able to provide those for us going forward. They weren't going to manufacture the parts. And as a result of that, we had purchase inventory to be able to get us through our next shutdown, which would be essentially a year from now. And so what this contract before you would do is allow TSP to design a new filtration system, and it would allow us to purchase those filters in our current fiscal year using our current operating budget, and then the following year we would pay to have those installed during our normal shutdown period in late summer, early fall, before the school year starts. So that's the plan.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
Right. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item?
Bruce Danielson. Will we never learn in this town when it comes to construction manager at risk? Once again, we have a building project that the previous administration and the current Parks Department director were really sold on. This was going to be a pool system that was going to last us for decades without any major work. And kind of reminds me of the construction manager at risk project that we had at the event center. And it gave us the siding issue that was a secret settlement that we had to go to the Supreme Court and force it to be released. The secret deals that have been made over time with the designs and the redo that were going on out at the event center. We've got a parking ramp over here, the bunker ramp as we call it, that is sitting there. We're having a soft opening right now. We don't want the public to actually know that it's open, but it apparently is. I saw some vehicles driving around on it last night. Then we've got the admin building. You know, that's a wonderful building. This was going to be our great 80-year administration building, and I see some snickering going on up here. But, you know, we've already had a ventilation system failure that was a disaster, that was probably pumping 14,000 households worth of water a day down through the sewer system to try and help it run. They so mismanaged the design of that. And then we ended up having bursting pipes that destroyed and a lot of work in the building. So now we come to the swimming pool, and what a treasure we have in the Midco. We've got windows that have failed. We've had to have siding replaced on it already. We've had a chemical storage issue early on that we had to get the chemicals moved out of the building. We've had a ventilation issue, and then now we've got a filter system issue. And in this process of trying to keep the Midco going and get rid of the stink that's in there from all the chlorine and all the other issues, you know, do we start looking at actually putting in a saline system in that pool or something that is actually going to hold the system long into the future? Because the chlorine system is a very corrosive system, and it's a very expensive system, and it's also extremely dangerous. And they were going to be storing all the chemicals for that system in that building until some individuals asked enough questions and got it moved. There's a lot of backstories in all of these buildings that we don't seem to take any care to remember the disastrous decisions that have been made in the last 10 years on a lot of these buildings. And now you people are going to have to find ways to pay for all of these mistakes. And then we are going to have to pay for all of these mistakes because the construction manager at risk is sayonara, I'm out of here. You guys, you know, we have our secret deals. We get a 1 year, maybe we'll work on it. Like in the event center siding issue, we got no warranty on it. So, you know, when we get to the point where we have to get rid of that ugly siding that's on there that's actually oozing the goo that's never been cleaned out, You know, we've got to deal with all of these things, and you guys are going to have to find the money in a COVID period where we're in a recession. There isn't money to do a lot of these things anymore. So we have to start planning and doing things ahead, and construction manager at risk, guaranteed maximum price, is not going to cut it anymore. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else here to speak on this one? All right. We want to make a motion on this item?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Star.
All right, motion by Erickson, seconded by Starr on this. Any discussion, council? All right, let's take a vote on it, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg, Sale,
Yes.
Starr.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 22, new 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license and new 2020 retail wine and cider license for Kelly Midwest Ventures LP, Hyatt Place, Sioux Falls, 4935 Lakeshore Boulevard, CUP not required, pending final inspections per building services. Item 23, transfer of 2020 retail wine and cider license, 2020 packaged liquor license, and 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license, including video lottery terminals from Grevco Incorporated Shopping Cart North, 1029 North Minnesota Avenue, to FCO LLC Shopping Cart North, 1029 North Minnesota Avenue, pending final inspections per building services. Item 24, transfer of 2020 packaged liquor license from EBJ Incorporated Liquor Mart South, 5004 South Cliff Avenue, to ODJ Enterprises LLC Liquor Mart South, 5004 South Cliff Avenue. And item 25, special one-day liquor license for T-Slide Incorporated, JJ's Wine, Spirits, and Cigars, to be operated at Sanford Event Bar, 2510 East 54th Street North, for a wedding on August 15th, 2020.
Hi, Jamie.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. I don't have any additional information for you on these items, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone from the public here to speak on any of these tonight? Council, do you have any questions for Jamie on 22 to 25? All right, look for a motion to approve those.
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Kylie.
All right, motion by Erickson, seconded by Kylie to approve those items. Any discussion, council? All right, we'll take a vote on those, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr.
All right, that passes 8-0 on item 26.
Item 26, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning a portion of property located at 4101 South 6 Mile Road from the AG Agriculture District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District, number 12302-2020, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
Good morning, Good evening, young man.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Jason Bieber representing Planning and Development Services. This is an application by Paul Fick. The owner is Kroll Family Partnership. It's located at the southwest corner of South 6 Mile Road and East 49th Street. It's roughly 4.91 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is they're looking at adding another row of single family with roughly 18 homes.
All right, thank you, Jason. Anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item tonight? Council, do you have any questions for Jason on this project?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Kylie.
All right, motion by Erickson and seconded by Kylie to approve this. Any discussion, councilors? All right, we'll take a vote on it, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr.
Okay, that passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 27, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 37, Taxation.
Hi, Dustin.
Good evening, Dustin Powers with the Planning and Development Services Department. Pretty easy couple amendments to our ordinance regarding our reduced taxation programs for the City of Sioux Falls. A number of the items were related to making the administrative department, the Planning and Development Services Department, amending that from the former Community Development Department. So some minor cleanup there. And then there was one change that occurred during legislative session that's now reflective in our ordinance that'll keep our program active. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thanks, Dustin. Anyone from the public here to speak on these? All right, councilors, do you have any questions for Dustin on these?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Kylie.
All right, motion by Erickson, seconded by Kylie to approve this item. Discussion, councilors? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Neitzert.
Yes.
Selberg. Yes. Sale.
Yes.
Star.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 28, second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota declaring certain real property of the city surplus and approving offer to purchase real estate from the city.
Good evening. This is an ordinance for a purchase agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Connolly Properties, LLC. Tonight, Alex Connolly with Connolly Properties is here representing the developer and purchaser of the property that we'll be talking about. We went over most of this information at the first reading. The subject property is located at 1600 West 51st Street. This is the remaining portion of the old Minnehaha County Ice and Rec Center property, and the entire parcel totals about 53,000 square feet. As we started negotiations and discussions with Connolly Properties, we also brought to the table the Glory House, as they are the neighbor to the west of this, and is who we worked with on some of the previous property there that was transferred via a gift and a sale to them for their project to add additional housing units for their clientele. And so as we began and went through those discussions, we decided that we could make a little bit of this work for both parties. Ultimately, what you'll have in front of you tonight is the purchase agreement that entails 38,000 square feet of that 53,000. And then there's about a remaining third acre that will continue conversations with the Glory House in the future. The development, again, with Connolly Properties will provide additional storage for their current business. The current business is Culligan Water, that's to the east of the subject property. That'll provide them the ability to expand their operations while putting the property back on the tax rolls, and again, leaving a little bit of property that we can continue to have those conversations with the Glory House about future expansion needs that they may have. So ultimately, the agreement terms, again, is the City of Sioux Falls is selling the property to Connolly Properties LLC for 38,317 square feet. The purchase price is $162,465, which equates to about $4.24 a square foot, which was the full appraised price for the property. Again, we do have some clawbacks if the project doesn't move forward. We do ask that the Connolly Properties complete the project within 24 months. And then if not, we do have a repurchase clause in there if we need to bring back the property to the City of Sioux Falls. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Dustin. Anyone from the public here to speak on this item tonight? Council, do you have questions for Dustin on this one?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Starr?
Yep. Mr. Powers, can you back up a couple of, I think it's 2 slides. There we go. Is that the intent of the purchaser to put that green strip that's there, or is that just the coloring that's there? The way the 2 pieces?
Which side?
On the right-hand side between their existing building and their proposed building?
I would have Alex come up and probably answer that for you. I think, initially this is just a general site plan for the site, and they're going to continue to work through kind of the site layout of what that building's actually going to look like in the entire site and how it interrelates back to their current site so that they can have flow from both facilities. So I know that there'll be some probably amendments along the way with that.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions, Councilor Starr?
No, that's
all right. Move approval.
Second, Jensen.
All right, motion by Selberg, seconded by Jensen to approve this item. Discussion, councilors? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote on it, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson, Jensen. Yes. Hiley.
Yes.
Neitzert.
Yes.
Selberg. Sale.
Yes.
Star.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Move on to item 29.
Item 29, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 30, City Council to enhance transparency in city government. Recommendation, set a date of second reading for Tuesday, August 11, 2020.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Erickson, floor is yours.
Thank you. Councilor Councilor Kiley and myself are going to just kind of tag team this presentation like we did during the informational. He and I have been working closely together with our staff, Jim David, Tom Greco, as well as the Attorney's Office, and did have a presentation to you just a couple of weeks ago. So the first slide we'll go through just really the definition of transparent. It's a word that we often like to use often, and truly what does it mean? And so The second one is truly in government what we strive to do, free from pretense or deceit, easily detected or seen through, readily understood, characterized by visibility, accessibility, and information, especially concerning business practices. This is really what we use for city government. Our transparency in action truly, just to say that we don't do anything for transparency's sake, it's just not true. On the screen is several different examples and focuses on how transparency is alive and well in city government. There is always room for improvement, but the public can not only watch their councilors deliberate on various topics, but they're also able to interact through public input. They also have the option to listen to meetings online, CityLink, or streamed on Roku or Apple device through an app called Cablecast ScreenWeave. Online, you're able to find our agendas, ordinances, resolutions, and supporting materials right at your fingertips. You can also get to know who your representatives are on the council. There's a wealth of city information at siouxfalls.org, such as street reconstruction, contractor bids, long-range strategic planning, and who owns what property. And the list goes on.
Thank you, and Councilor Erickson, and I'll address the changes or additions to the ordinance. Members, you all have copies of the ordinance, and the public has copies, and they were distributed actually 2 weeks ago as well. So first, I'll address ordinance 30.002, which deals with special meeting notice under Part B. The background on any action items must now be delivered to the city clerk and city council members. That is an addition, so a change. Also under Part B, notice is available to the public and it'll be posted to the city website. So again, what we receive as a council, the public will also have the same information. Then also under Part B, that notice must arrive at least 24 hours prior to the meeting or by 4 p.m. the day prior to the meeting, whichever occurs first. And for ordinance 30.014, it addresses items added after the agenda deadline. It's very similar additions. The notice must arrive at least 24 hours prior to the meeting or by 4 p.m. of the day prior to the meeting, whichever occurs first. And again, this must be delivered to the city clerk as well as the city council members. There should be background on the action item, and the information is once again available to the public and is posted to the city website. So there's always room to improve, and we believe we have found a few new opportunities to further open up city government for the people's business. Under ordinance 30.022, which is ordinances, resolutions, motions, and other documents requiring council approval, under Part A, it requires again a written background explanation from the sponsor for each regular agenda item. That information is available to the council, to the mayor, as well as to the public. And the regular agenda will include the proposal sponsor, whether it's the mayor, if it's coming from a city department, or the two city councilors that are bringing it forward, or the private applicant. And for the purpose of this ordinance, private applicants would include items such as rezones, right-of-way, street vacations, licenses, et cetera. And currently, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, petitioners are currently listed on the Planning Commission agenda, so we're just really extending what's already happening with that particular commission to the City Council. So basically what we get, the public is also going to receive, with maybe the exception of information that's specifically exempt from disclosure under state public records laws. So, as Thomas Jefferson said, an informed citizenry is at the heart of a dynamic democracy, and that's what we're just trying to do here, is to help not only inform members on this council, but the public equally. So 2 weeks ago, July 21st, we had informational on this item. Tonight is the first reading, and then next Tuesday, August 11th, will be the second reading. The only addition, the only thing that has changed from 2 weeks ago
is this ordinance shall be effective October 1, 2020, instead of the normal 20 days once the records are posted publicly. So,
Speak up, Rick.
yeah, I guess so. It's going to talk to me some more. But anyway, so once again, to access, all you have to do is go to the city website, view meetings, click on the agenda packet. And if you did that with tonight's meetings, the agenda packet tonight contains 107 pages for your pleasurable reading. Last time it was 134, so there's a wealth of information. It'll be easy to access for all of us, public included.
Thank you, sir. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item? All right, councilors, do you have, well, let's put a motion on the floor and then you can have a discussion on it. Councilor Kylie or Erickson, you want to make the
Moved
motion?
to approve. Second.
All right, motion by Kylie and seconded by Erickson to approve this item. Discussion amongst colleagues on this. Start with Councilor Sale and then Councilor Neitzer.
Just nice job, you two.
Councilor Neitzer.
Just out of curiosity, what was the driver of the effective date of October 1st being added?
Good question, and I meant to explain that. This is going to be a change for members of the city departments as well as our city clerks. And so there is going to take some time for training and implementation of this to make sure it's done appropriately, especially the background aspect of collecting that data.
All right, thank you. Other discussion amongst the council? Councilor Brecky.
I think I said it at the informational, but I'd like to say it at the first reading. I am highly supportive of your efforts here. I have been a huge fan of the concept of an augmented agenda, which is what really this is when you actually add the description of the items in a layman's format that people can readily understand. I think that's going to go a long way for the members of the audience and the people who actually access the agenda to really understand what it is we're talking about. Just like when we're standing up here with our augmented agenda that we get from our directors meeting, now the public will have something very similar to that, and the staff will be aware that it's going to be going on there, and so they'll, and it'll be approved by the city attorney's office, so there'll be a nice description. I think that's going to be extremely helpful, and I'm very supportive, and I compliment you on your efforts. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor. Other discussion, Council? Councilor Selberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think both councilors put it well, where there has been a good effort at transparency. I think that exists, but there's always room for improvement. So I appreciate the fact that they, I always think it's great when a couple of councilors will get together and try to make things a little more efficient, and they certainly have done that here. So nice work.
All right. Any other discussion, council? All right, let's take a vote on the motion to approve this item then.
To set
a date of second reading, sorry, for Tuesday, August 11.
Council members Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Jensen? Yes. Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Selberg? Yes. Sale?
Yes.
Star?
All right, that passes 8-0. Item 30.
Item 30, a resolution amending City Planning Commission bylaws. The Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
Yeah, this is just our kind of bi-yearly update for our Planning Commission bylaws. Some of the things that we're looking to change, just chairperson pro temp, change from commission vote each time to it would just be the next tenured commissioner, so we wouldn't have to vote if we did not have a chair or vice chair. Regular meeting dates, our bylaws actually say the first Wednesday of the month. However, sometimes we do get bumped when the council has to go to a Tuesday, so then we get bumped to Thursday. And then also if we do have some holidays on a Wednesday. So we just put it in there to make it a little bit more flexible to be able to move to that Thursday. Remove specific regulations for joint meetings. We have joint meeting bylaws with Minnehaha County and Lincoln County, so we don't really need them in here. And then just specifically do what a quorum is. We really wanted to get it consistent in there that it's 5 members, even if somebody doesn't recuse themselves. And then the other thing was to add some language in there with COVID to allow participation, via the phone or internet for future meetings. So.
All right, thanks, Jason. Anyone from the public like to speak on this item tonight? Councilors, you got questions for Jason on this? Councilor Starr?
Yes. Am I understand, there's 8 people currently on the Planning Commission, and you're asking to change the bylaws to only have 3 people present to pass something? Did I misunderstand that?
No, a quorum for planning commission is the majority of the members, which would be 5. There was some language in there. Sometimes some of our planning commissioners, they are working on projects and have to recuse themselves quite a bit. So the way that it was reading and the way it was interpreted by our city's attorney's office is if you had 5 members there and one person had recused himself for one item, we no longer had a quorum. So this is making it more clear that 5 members is a quorum, and if one of those members has to recuse themselves, we still have a quorum, so the vote would be 4-0. So that's really what it is. And specifically, it's for Lincoln County meetings. Otherwise, then we have to take a ton of people down there. Sometimes meetings last 5 minutes and drive them all back. So it's really just to get that more clear that 5 members makes a quorum. So.
Thank you. All right, Councilor Brecky.
And I'm not sure if this question is for you or for Clerk Greco. Is the last sentence on section 1, well, let me phrase it this way. It's clear that when we have an unusual meeting because of the holidays and whatnot, that we're going to give proper notice to the planning commission members. But the last sentence says that regular meetings are noticed, that it's going to be regular meetings are noticed official meetings and open to the public during which planning commission deliberates and may take votes on specific items. What is the regular notice for the meeting? I just want to make sure that we're going to be notifying the public when we do something out of the ordinary, the adequate notice. So what is that, Tom? Or
That wasn't intended to change at all. What really is if the meeting's a Thursday, we would do our notice. The notice of hearing would notice the meeting for Thursday, June 4th. All of our letters that we send out to the neighbors would notice Thursday, June, 4th. So that is not proposing to change. They'd be noticed the same. It just gives us that flexibility to be able to move to a Thursday if we have to.
and then so basically what you're telling me, like you kind of have an annual calendar?
Yeah, correct.
And so those adjustments are already in that?
The ones that we know about, so we do an annual calendar every year. Obviously, if there's a holiday, we'll know that, so it'll be adjusted on our annual calendar. Usually 2 or 3 times a year, you guys have to get moved from Tuesday to Wednesday if it's an annual meeting or you have something in Pier. And we don't know those until usually Tom gives us a 2 or 3 month lead time on that so we can make sure we get our notices correctly.
Okay.
If we know those prior to us publishing our 2021 calendar, they would be in there as the Thursday then, correct?
That answers my question. Just want to make sure that we had adequate notice, and it sounds like we have more than adequate notice, so thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions for Jason? All right, do we want to put a motion on the floor on this? Move approval.
Second, Neitzer.
All right, motion by Selberg, seconded by Neitzer to approve this item. Is there a discussion amongst council on this? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote, please, Tom.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Neitzer,
Yes.
Selberg, Sale,
Yes.
Starr.
That passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 31, a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Majestic Meadows, second edition, 12296-2020. The Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0.
This is the preliminary subdivision plan that went along with the rezoning. That was item number 26. The applicant here is Paul Fick. This is 49th Street and South 6 Mile Road. They're looking at doing another row of single-family homes, about 18 of them out there.
All right, thanks, Jason. Anyone from the public here to speak on this one tonight? Councilors, got any questions for Jason on this?
Move to approve.
Second, Jensen.
All right, motion by Kylie, seconded by Jensen to approve this item. Discussion, councilors? All right, we'll take a vote on it, please.
Council members Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Neitzer,
Yes.
Selberg, Sale,
Yes.
Starr.
8-0, that item passes. We'll move on to item 32, please.
Item 32, a resolution supporting the candidacy of Bill O'Toole for a position on the board of the directors of the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, SDPAA.
Bill, you're on.
Mayor, Council, Bill O'Toole, Human Resources Director. I'll be brief. The South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance is a local government risk pool providing risk management services, and they defend and protect against liability-related issues. The Board of Directors is made up of 11 members, 6 from municipal organizations, 3 from county representatives, and the executive directors of both the South Dakota Municipal League and the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners. This resolution allows me to apply for that position on the board of directors. It's just one step in the process. There's an election process that would occur in April. There's an application deadline that's at the end of this month. And the City of Sioux Falls is a founding member of this organization, and we've had consistent representation on that board. Many city employees prior to me have served on that. I'm trying to follow in some of those footsteps and looking for your support to pursue that moving forward, and be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it, Bill. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item tonight? Councilors, do you have any questions? Councilor Starr?
Did you send us your resume, Mr. O'Toole? I'm just kidding. That's enough for tonight.
It's too thick. It's too big of a file. Any other questions, or can we get a motion on the floor?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Starr.
That's a tie. I'm going to give that to Councilor Starr. Rick, sorry. Motion by Erickson, seconded by Councilor Starr there. Any discussion, council, on this? All right, hearing none, let's take a vote on it, please.
Council members Brecky.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Heitzert.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Dale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
All right, that item passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 33, notice of transfer of appropriations on the memorandum dated June 30th, 2020.
Councilors, any new business tonight? Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn, Erickson.
All right, motion by Erickson, seconded by Kylie to adjourn us. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, that is carried. We are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.